What is up, everybody? Josh Tapp here again, and welcome back to the Lucky Titan podcast. And today we're here with David Henzel. And David and I actually had a conversation a couple weeks ago, I think is what it was. And I was just so impressed with what he's done, where he's been going with his company. I'm like, we've got to get you on the show. And you're about to hear him all over the place because he's going on this podcast tour, it sounds like, promoting what they're doing. So I'm excited to have him on here. David is the CEO of UpCoach and a multiple times successful entrepreneur. I'm super excited to have him here because his take on how to build a successful company is coming from a place of experience. And I love to bring this type of guest on because you can know that what they're saying isn't theoretically what they would do. It's pretty much what they've done. So David, say what's up to everybody and let's hop in, man.
Thanks for having me on the show, Josh. Excited to be here.
No problem. All right, well, let's hop in. So I'm going to ask you $1 million question. So if you had to start a business again, completely from scratch, you have no network, you have no website, no logo, nothing, what would you do to build a successful business within, let's just say 90 days to 6 months?
All right, but I still know what I know, right? It's not that.
Yes, yeah, your knowledge is still there.
All right, so acquiring customers I'll probably do via cold outreach, and this is something I'm doing right now for UpCoach, which is working like phenomenally well. We use a tool called Meet Alfred, which is a LinkedIn automation tool, and I'm sending out a very simple message, which basically says, hey Josh, we've built UpCoach with coaches like you in mind, or being even more specific, like with sales coaches or with people who run masterminds, kind of being very specific. May I send you a quick video that shows you how it works? Because this is very benign. It's not like, hey, buy my stuff. It's not, hey, let's jump on the call. It's like you don't really want something from them. You give them something that could be of value for them. And I have a 49 to 52% response rate, which is mind blowing on cold traffic. It's like on it's people who've never heard from me. And then I sent them the video, and then they see how we can help you, and then this leads to conversations, or they become customers or affiliates, or this works really well. So if I would be in this position of, hey, I have to, or I want to make money really fast right now, this is probably my go-to thing, because you can work a lot of other angles with SEO, and there's like a lot of different things that could work, but this would probably be my go-to. Since you said no network, otherwise if you're kind of known, then something that works really well if you find people who have your audience and have them promote you, which actually I think if you have no you can probably still do the same pitch to multipliers, so people who have your audience. And what I found in my business is there's 4 types of multipliers that you can find, or people that have your audience and can recommend you. The first one is other SaaS businesses or products where they have the same audience and you are complementary to this audience. The second one is agencies, and agencies can either so agencies that kind of work in the same space, that work with your audience, but you're not competing. But what works even better with agencies is individual contractors, consultants in the space, because with an agency, you talk to the owner and you build this relationship with them. But with what's it called? It still has to trickle down to the entire organization, the entire agency. And so a lot of stuff gets lost in translation, or then the people in the agency won't really pitch you. But with an individual consultant, where you can align and, kind of with all these partnerships, you want to create a win-win-win situation where you win, your partner wins, and the partner's audience wins. These individual consultants, you have more success with these guys. So they're just like closer to the customer, and they know you, they build a trust with you. It's just often a trust game. Then you have competitors. It's also something that works well. If, for example, you go to a competitor who works with very large organizations or very large customers, they often, let's say ad agency, and they only work with customers who do like 30 grand in monthly ad spend plus. All the other people that sign up or talk to them, they're below this, they'll just spoil, nothing will happen with them. So they can pass these leads on to you and, make a buck on this. And given that you take good care of them and, you're not burning relationships. So I think, these are the types of outreach methods or kind of drumming up business. to get started. And then, kind of really depends on your experience. In my situation, I can coach on so many different aspects on business and personal development. My latest passion is organizational development, because I've seen with the businesses that I've built, how big of a difference it makes if you're having a right system in mind. And Josh, in the beginning, you mentioned that you're also a huge systems nerd. It's just like, makes so much sense. And there's this amazing book called Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman, which explains the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and kind of how to set up the proper mission, vision, core values, how to have the right people in the right seats, how to figure out your 90-day goals, how to run proper meetings, etc. So I'll probably teach this to people because this just has provided so much value in my business. So I'm very passionate about this, so I can actually sell this, and also if you sell something, if you want to, money is a side effect of providing value. So if you figure out how to provide the most value to the most people, then you'll be the richest person around. So it's just like kind of about finding this value, and then also being, it's another thing that's going to sound super hippie, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm a firm believer in this. If you sell out of love, it's going to be very easy to sell versus selling out of fear. I used to hate sales. I'm a recovering introvert. I used to also hate being on podcasts or being on stage. I would have preferred to shoot myself in the face versus being on stage with a lot of people. But now I'm doing it because what I have to say can potentially help you in your life and your business. Same, kind of with, and versus, and if I'm in this state, then I'm acting out of love, because I want to help you, versus if I'm acting out of fear, when I think about me, like, oh, do they think I have a weird German accent? Do they think I look weird? Do they think what I'm saying is stupid? It's like, then I make it about me, and then I freeze and I can't present. Same if I want to sell, and I sell out of fear because I have to pay my mortgage, I have to reach my number, hit my numbers, etc. Then I also can sell. You have to turn around, make it about the other person. It's like, okay, Josh, how can I provide value to you, and kind of like figure this out. And yeah, so I've been talking a lot. Maybe I can give you a break. So
I would like to hop in. There's a couple pieces there. I hope people are taking notes here. He just laid some like major value bombs, shared exactly how they're getting clients for their business. That's most people are really averse to wanting to reach out to people, to cold traffic, right? Oh, I only want to work through warm. I think it's because of what you're saying at the end there. They're coming at it with fear instead of with the love for the people. And I know for us, when we've come at it with a sign of love, saying I genuinely care about the results that you're going to have, not because it makes me more money, but because I know it's something that you need. I know this is keeping you up at night, so let me help you out. So I love that you're saying, hey, SaaS business, cold outreach, and then you're coming at an approach with love. So for you, how else would you scale at that point? Because obviously, like I said, we're big framework nerds. So what's kind of been your framework to scale your teams? Because you've built multiple successful companies where you're not even really having to be there very often.
I mean, depends on where do you start, and if you have some resources, I always think a good manager manages himself out of the process, so you're not there anymore at some point. It's kind of always the idea, because then you can actually really scale the business, because you're not working in the business, you're working on the business. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't make this connection. Don't I don't want to hire somebody, I could keep the money, but actually you can kind of take it much further if you invest in this. You invest in people, you invest in these processes, you invest into the systems to actually make your business grow and thrive. And it's not about having more money in the bank. It's more kind of really buying yourself freedom to really do the stuff that you're passionate about, and also in your business that you can operate in your zone of genius, and you can focus on the stuff that you really enjoy doing, and kind of finding people, either finding business partners who are really good at the other parts. For example, I'm not a quant, I'm more of a creative person. So one of my business partners is this super nerd when it comes to numbers, and it's just kind of pairing up with people who support my weaknesses or the stuff that I just don't enjoy doing, or legal stuff. I hate legal stuff with a passion. It's really hard for me to grind through legal copy. So kind of having a good attorney that I trust and can do this stuff, or having a business partner who takes this part over. I think it's really key to find people you can just divide and conquer and just like focus on the stuff that really makes you enjoy doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, I know for me, when we first started our first company, people were like, "Oh, you don't want to partner with family or friends or anything," and I actually tend to disagree. I think it has to do with, it doesn't matter what the relationship is to you. It has everything to do with what skill set do they actually bring to the table. Because I know I've shot myself in the foot in multiple businesses with partners because they brought a skill set that we didn't actually need now. We needed it later. And it made me realize, oh, okay, I should have hired in, or I should have partnered with somebody who could help me establish the systems and do the things I didn't want to do first. I still had to learn how to do them because I didn't have that. But then later on, these other partners came into play and they were very, very valuable. But I probably could have just hired them on instead of giving them equity in my company. So for you, if you're coming at it, let's just say you're coming at it with low resources, what would be the kind of the first people you would hire into your company as you kind of move forward to scale, and especially with the SaaS model? I'm genuinely curious about that.
I mean, with the SaaS model, since I'm not a developer, I used to be a Linux system and network engineer, like almost in a past life. I haven't really touched, any server or code or shell scripts in I don't even know, like 15 years or something like this. So in the SaaS space, of course, I have to hire developers and, ideally have like a CTO who's on board, or like a technical co-founder, kind of depending on what you build. It's like a really crucial element, somebody you can trust, somebody who's been there, done that. And, in terms of finding partners, I have like this thing, I think it's a Buddhist saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I kind of like really filter people in general. Like I'm very aware of like the small things they do. If you're kind of extreme examples, if you're not faithful to your girlfriend or wife, then you would like cheat on your business partner with this, without even blinking, and this kind of even goes down to the little things, like, are they late? Are they unorganized? Do they leave shit laying around on the floor? Like, just kind of being really anal about these small things, because this is like just, you are who you are. If you're a dick at work, you're also going to be a dick at home. It's just like who you are, And so this, I think, is like a really important thing to filter out who you're, doing this business with.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that, really kind of as a distinction for who you're hiring, because I've never really thought about it that way, but it's really true. And if you watch a lot of people, we all have that client or that customer, whatever you're selling, who has just been a pain in your butt. They're just the worst person to work with, right? And you can directly track back in the relationship. You look backwards and you're like, man, from the first interaction, I knew this person needed too much of my time, or was super whiny, or like they had all these different things. And
1000%, yeah.
And it makes it really easy, if you pay attention to that, to identify. We recently just had that. We turned down a $10,000 contract, which would have killed me back in the day. We just turned down a $10,000 contract because I'm like, I can't work with these people. I just can't do it, right? And
life's
not
short.
that I like them. It had nothing to do with I didn't like them, but everything they were doing was reminding me of one customer that I just could not stand at the time. So I love that.
That's also really important. Like, also when you scale your team, you want to, to not force your team to work with unpleasant customers. So we have, if we have a really unpleasant customer, we'll fire the customer, because, it's important that people go to work and they're happy serving people and acting out of love, like helping people because they want to help them, not because, they kind of have to, because they're customers. So I think, yeah, it's an important one, and could be a little unpopular, and if you want, since this is a record podcast, you can edit it out. But, in Germany, people are like very meticulous with this stuff. For example, if somebody's always late, you will not do business with them. If somebody's like drinking too much, or like has substance abuse, etc., you don't deal with him. If he's extremely overweight, you will not do business with him, etc., etc. You're cheating on the spouse, because like this is like an extreme indicator that something is like unbalanced with this person in their life, and you don't want, like, picking a business partner is similar to picking a life partner. You want to be like very cautious, or like, you know, very mindful on what you're attracting in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, really, I don't think that needs to be filtered out, to be honest. I think it's a true life. I mean, some people will say, oh, well, you're judging people like the book by the cover, but the reality is you can find pretty quickly. I always give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Give them one conversation. And if that one conversation, you can just tell they're nervous, but as long as they're not showing any big red flags, typically I'll give them a second conversation or a partnership, you know what I'm saying? But it's kind of interesting to watch, as you get further into that, it's really easy for us now, especially to identify who we don't want to work with, who we don't want to partner with, you know, because you've kind of had that life experience at that point. So for you, you know, like you've kind of got that system in place for finding people. How then are you putting them into a system that allows you to scale and grow? Because the number one problem we see in the SaaS space is people focus all their money and their effort on making the tech amazing. But then half of those, I would say more than half of those softwares end up disappearing because they don't really have a good sales or marketing model around growing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So in terms of, you know, it goes hand in hand. Tech has to be amazing, but to get tech to be amazing, customer success teams is, you know, the way to go. And in the beginning, when you knew, you kind of do this, you know, you kind of like are on a lot of onboarding calls, you know, also doing onboarding calls with every customer, you know, small customer or not. You know, just like you want to hear from them, you want to talk to everybody in the mom. There's this the president after, I'm bad with US presidents, but the one that did the Vietnam War, you know, went with the general who fought the general in Vietnam. They went to, you know, first time after I don't know how many years, they went to Vietnam, and the two generals met, and, you know, the American one asked the Vietnamese one, like, hey man, how could you have beat us? You know, we had more people, we had more money, we had better equipment, la la. How in the world was this possible that you beat us? And his response was, we know the jungle better, you know? And so I had like this habit. I'm a huge habit nerd, so I have like this habit tracker, also an upcoach as a habit tracker. And one of the habits was knowing the jungle. So because I'm not a coach by training, so I want to talk to everybody on the mom to really understand what are the pain points in the coaching business, you know, kind of what do they, you know, so I really understand the jungle well, and kind of, yeah, so I can actually build something that's really meant for coaching. My business partner is is Todd Herman. He's very well-known coach in the US. He wrote the Alter Ego Effect, and, you know, having him on board like kind of makes it a lot easier to have like somebody who's like really been there, done that for like, I don't know, 25 plus years. So yeah, I think that's a key thing to really understand what you're building here. Oh, another tip, which is again, cold outreach when you're building a SaaS. I have this from the founder of WP Engine. He reached out when he was building the WordPress platform. He reached out to all the thought leaders in the WordPress space, and he sent them a message along the lines of like, hey, you're like thought leader in the space. We're building this WordPress hosting platform. Would love to pick your brain to figure out like to build something that's actually truly amazing. I'm happy to pay you your hourly rate, whatever it is. Let's jump on the call. And he wrote this email to 90 some people, and he jumped on a call with 80 people, and none of them charged him. You know, so and, you know, by doing this, you kind of you get really good feedback, and B, you build like this network of advocates for you, because, you know, people give their input, you kind of keep them in the loop, like, hey, we're building this, and then you win them as clients, as affiliates, and, you know, I think this is like kind of really simple, almost necessary strategy to talk to the right people and figure out what's important to when you want to build a SaaS.
Yeah, I love that distinction. And the funny thing is that there's so, people think it's so difficult to get customer feedback. But the one thing you did, and I hope people really paid attention to that, you found an expert in the industry, like the number one dream user of your platform, right? You said, hey, let's partner with him, because he's going to know exactly what needs to be done on the software. He's going to know 90% of the features that need done. But then you're using that methodology where you're saying, well, let's go get 100 of these other top coaches. interview them or whatever you've got to do and get these specific needs from them. And then they become referral partners as well. Genius. I'm totally going to use that, just so you know. I'll quote you twice and I'll use it. So, David, I do want to ask you a couple of final questions here. So one of the first ones is, you've kind of mentioned UpCoach a couple of times, but I want to give it the time that it's the justice that it needs. I mean, the software is amazing if you're a coach. So can you kind of give us the 10,000 foot view of what UpCoach is?
So I give you the backstory and why we built it. So I have this course called Managing Happiness, which basically helps entrepreneurs to figure out their personal mission, vision, core values, their goals, and the habits that they need to actually achieve these goals. And I was working with the leadership teams of my businesses, to kind of coach them on this, because my thinking is if they're on their personal A game, this will, also be good for the business. And I couldn't find a platform that was. I found a lot of coaching platforms, but most of them were more for getting more customers in the door versus actually delivering the coaching. And me juggling already 10 different things, I didn't have that much time for coaching. Also, friends of mine, other entrepreneurs, took the class and they brought their teams. So it's like just kind of was like too much work for me. So I need something to make this as little work for me as possible, but also kind of giving the best possible results, and I want to really hold people accountable. It was like I did these group coachings, 8 to 10 people, 8 weeks long, 1 hour a week. And I want to hold them accountable that they actually do what they're supposed to do and, deliver them the best possible results, so kind of the idea is that it's like UpCoach turned out to be a coaching platform, where you can do group coaching, one-on-one coaching, masterminds, trainings, etc. Also kind of teaching some agencies are using it to hold their customers accountable and to kind of like implement stuff. And so building this one place where all the delivery of your coaching happens, we also have like agendas in there, because I'm German, like things are very, we talked about systems and processes. I like things very organized. So with like this agenda in there to just kind of also deliver the consistent results. And also another thing, since talking about systems, I like to systematize stuff. So you have like an online course in there, you have the agendas in there, you have all these, let's say, bumper boarding, so you can hand it off to somebody else. So somebody else can teach you a methodology. And again, I kind of always want to manage myself out of the process. So I can just like kind of give the idea and the framework, etc. And then somebody else can execute on this. So I'm out of the game again, and it's still growing and providing value.
I absolutely love that. So, I mean, one of the big things I wanted to point out to everybody about UpCoach is something we're actually moving our entire group coaching program over to this platform, because the number one problem we see in the coaching space is fulfilling on it is very, very difficult. The communications, holding them accountable. Where do you put the course? You have to have Kajabi. And the thing is, they basically unified all these fulfillment tools and put them into one place, instead of saying you've got to have 15 different tools to keep up with everybody. So I really appreciate it. We are actually moving our group coaching program over there, which is exciting. I'm stoked to do that, David. I haven't done it yet, and I'm sorry, I'm a little bit slow on the uptake, but I'm tasking somebody to do it this week. So other than that, though, David, I hope everybody will go check that out. So the link for that, you can go to theluckytitan.com/upcoach. Very simple URL. Make sure you go check that out. It will be in the description of the show notes as well. And David, before we hop off, one final question for you. So if you could leave one final parting piece of guidance for our audience, what would that be?
Make decisions out of love, not out of fear. It's my mantra. It has been serving me really well, from like becoming a introvert to recovering introvert, like being better at sales, being better at managing people, being a better husband. It's like just transcends in all areas of life, being a better leader. So I think if you figure out to do this, the world will be a better place and your life will just be much better and you'll be more successful.